Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at Kentucky Derby contender Just Steel from the Wayne Lucas barn. And this is a horse with plenty of experience. Lucas has tested this horse early and often. He has run 11 times in his career, and more often than not, he shows up with a good performance, as he did in the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, where he finished second to Muth, who was able to take them from up close to the pace all the way around. Just Steel tries very hard for second, Mike. He ran a little bit wide in this race, except for his one performance in the Rebel, where I thought he had a tremendous excuse, just being 4 or 5 wide around the track. This guy does show up, but he seems to find one better almost every time.
Yeah, true enough. Listen, he's out for a trainer who you just know is not bringing. He's not one of the guys who's going to bring a horse that he's babied along the way into the Kentucky Derby. This horse is battle tested. He tends to show up no matter what. They sprint him a lot. They've routed him a lot. He shows up no matter what. The question is, how good is he? How much more room does he have to improve? He comes out of a race where he finishes a really solid second in the Arkansas Derby, but there was never a point in that race where it looked like he was going to win, Dan. He was only second best, and he didn't earn a huge figure.
He did earn his career best buyer, though, however. It was a 95. He'll have a lot of work to do if he's going to run a triple digit, which is what you're going to need, I would assume, to win this year's Kentucky Derby. He is by a Triple Crown winner, Justify. He sold for $500,000 as a yearling. Looking at his pedigree, however, and looking at his races thus far, do you think there is an argument that could be made that Just Steel is just a little bit better, going just a little bit shorter?
I mean, it sort of looks that way. Certainly he hasn't run poorly in his longer races. It's interesting because I think there's a little bit of buzz around this horse because it feels like people are behind him because he tends to get outside trips in his races. I don't know, Dan. I personally go back, I look at all of his route races. I don't see, hugely terrible trips for this horse. He's on the outside. He does his best. He's not good enough most of the time. I just don't think this horse is very good. I'd be interested in him when they ultimately cut him back, which I think they're going to have to do, or maybe when they switch to turf. He's got a lot of turf in his pedigree.
You took the words right out of my mouth. While Justify is a Triple Crown winner, he has done very well with his turf progeny. Just Steel's Dam was a Group 1 stakes winner going a mile on turf in Australia. The Dam has already foaled a Group 2 stakes winner sprinting on turf in Australia and a stakes-winning turf sprinter in England. So there's a lot of grass in this pedigree. The good news for Just Steel fans, or at least one piece of good news, is this horse always seems to run well at Churchill Downs. His big performance last year came in a sprint stake, and he just made this beautiful wide move on the turn and kept right on going to win. I thought visually it was his best performance, earning a 90 buyer speed figure, but it did come shorter.
Yeah, I agree with that. He looked really good winning that race, and that's the last time they sprinted him. And obviously, you can go through his 4 races since then, Dan, and you can understand why they've pressed on with him as a Derby horse. Second in the Smarty Jones, second in the Southwest, second in the Arkansas Derby. I mean, he's showing up and he's holding his own. These just aren't races where they're not particularly fast races, first of all, and they're not races where, at least in my opinion, there's never a point where it looks like he's going to win those races. He's got to improve a lot on the first Saturday in May.
Keith Asmussen's going to take the mount for the great D. Wayne Lucas, who seems to be repeating some of the work patterns leading up to the Derby that he showed leading up to the Arkansas Derby. March 14th, 16 days before the Arkansas Derby, Mile Breeze in 140 flat. April 20th at Churchill Downs, Mile Breeze in 140 flat. Just Steel is a racehorse. He shows up each and every time. He's going to be a price. Now we're just going to see if he can take a slight step forward for a great trainer that many racing fans are going to be rooting for, D. Wayne Lucas.